I would like to bring you first a small context of why I choose this technology. I'm not sure if you, sorry, just a bit, if you don't mind, can you mute your side? Because I'm having a little bit of feedback. Thank you. And all right, so continuing, a little bit of context about why we choose face recognition. I'm a big fan of something you call IoT, Internet of Things, and all the good things you can do with this concept. I mean, bringing you outside of the PC, outside of the notebook or the mobile. But two things you can dress, you can use and see. So I was missing a little bit of things in the Internet of Things, and kind of started playing with things as sensors, light sensors, presence sensors, water sensors, and other things. And one of the things I ended up experiment with was face recognition. One of the good things with this is that it's totally based in software mostly, and any webcam will do the work. For the sake of comparison, for this demo I will show today, I'm using a 10 years old webcam, which is not a big deal at all. So it's quite cheap and simple, but indeed it's still cool, and so you can have great results with just a little bit. So let's get started. I would like to bring you here this use case. So we got Books and Cores, which is one bookstore. It's a fictitious company, and it's very successful online. However, their marketers have a good Sitecore website and do all the good things with marketing campaigns, personalizations, and all that good stuff. Multi-MV tests, email campaigns, all that are in place. However, they are still struggling to move that success or transmit or benefit that success in their physical stores, in their offline channels. So what could be done to increase the offline engagement, to offer an improvement experience to returning clients? And the answer choose was face recognition. Mostly because all of the other reasons I brought at the beginning, because it's something relatively cheap and gives you a big impact. So next slide, we'll see what they got before we move on with face recognition. And the idea here is to show you that any website that runs Sitecore and have a good usage of your XDB data and all the things will be able to use face recognition. So here we have two guys, Rodrigo, Eliane. As you know, they have different tastes for books. Sitecore is capable to match their preferences based on their navigation, so that's already in place. As you know, Sitecore will store all that data in the XDB, and that's already in place. That's working perfectly. They also have a component that I will call recommendation component that is capable to gather all that data from a returning contact and display some recommendations. Okay, so that's all already in place, and we will use all that metadata that is in analytics, in the XDB to recommend the books. So that's the info that we're gonna base ourselves to recommend books. Of course, here we are very centered in the genre. So I will show you recommendations for certain genre, the genres that are of your preference, of your contact preference. All right, next, the user will register at the bookstore. There's already a website, of course, and he or she will log in by filling out a registration form. After the registration, he will have the chance to upload his selfie, and then there's a checkbox. You see this blue checkbox. The checkbox is responsible for defining if the user wants his picture to be used in the experience in the physical stores. So basically, if the user wants to be recognized. As you click in this checkbox, you have here I will say a window, a big window telling you, the user that exactly what we got, why we are doing that. So by accepting this, you agree to have your picture used for face recognition in our physical stores. That's all very important. So why we need the user to be registered and all that attention to this, because there are privacy regulations everywhere nowadays. So you cannot simply go, technically you can, it's possible, but you cannot simply go out there and start scanning people's face and giving things without their permission. So it's very important that you have that protection to the user and be very specific on what you are going to do with that information. In this case, we solely be allowing face recognition in physical stores. Okay, so next, a little bit of how we do the mapping of the pages, the genre, and how Sitecore knows the preferences of the user. So you have here pages for each of our genres in the left. So each genre will have a page, of course, and below the page you have, as children, all the books from that genre. Okay, so that's quite simple, and it's of course a demo. You have something better in a real e-commerce, but that's how it is set up here. And we have in the right the marketing profiles. As you can see, we have the same genre in pages and marketing profiles. So we have that mapping. As we select each of these genre, we'll be able to select the profile card that matches that genre. So that's quite nothing new so far, because all that was there before when we decided to implement some face recognition. But it's important for you to see that it's not, nothing is different so far. We're just using out-of-the-box Sitecore so far, and you show later how we do the personalization for the recommendation. So as a user visit a genre page or a book underneath the genre, he will get points for the specific genre because of the profile cards that we're assigning to each of these pages. Okay, the only customization so far was that when I access a book, I need to trigger registration of a visit to the genre instead of the book. So that's the only thing that is customized so far. As you can see, if you go to experience profile, you will still be able to see already that each of your contacts have their preferences already. You see here, we have Roberto that has horror and anthology biography at that time. So it's already there. It's out of the box analytics. A custom Sitecore component is used that I told you before about that. This component accepts a book genre as a data source item, and when it renders a book, books from that genre are going to be listed. You have here, as you can see, we have the same component, genre, books, continues, 3 times in the layout details. And the reason why I have that is because I want to show top 1, top 2, and top 3 genres for that current contact, okay? And here you see the personalization setup. As you can see here, I'm just setting up each of the genres as personalizations, personalizations variations, and I'm using the rules to set up, this genre poetry has best 3. That's also here we have a second custom thing, which is just a rule condition that enables you to select top 1, top 2, and top 3. What you see here is top 3 for poetry. And here, when you open that, it's just a custom rule, nothing condition actually, nothing outstanding so far. It's custom, but nothing outstanding. And let me show a little bit of the bookshelf itself. It's visually not much different than a normal bookshelf, except that it has a screen in the middle and a webcam attached to make all that magic happen, okay? Books are arranged by their genres around, I would say, surrounding the screen. Each division will show those genres, okay? In order to improve the visual experience, we'll have LED strips, LED lights bound to each of these genres. So every time you see a recommendation, you not only see the recommendation in the middle of the screen, but also you have the LED giving you physical feedback for your genres, okay? All right, so here, let's do, it's quite a simulation. We have here someone approaching the bookshelf. The system will stay in a loop, trying to detect a face, searching for a permitted face, not simply a face, but a permitted face. That's very important. If no faces are found, or if the user's choice is not to be recognized, then the thing will stay in the loop. It will stay in the loop until we find a face. When that face is found, we use here a cloud API. It's I will call it a face API, but I will tell you the tool we are currently using. It's called Kairos API. It's a cloud API that permits you face recognition and face detection, but you can use anything. I'm doing currently experiments with Microsoft Cognizant API there is one Face API as well that does quite of the same thing. And you know, there's nothing blocking you to do that. Only that in this demo, I'm using Kairos API. And if the Kairos API here or the Face API will be responsible only to detect if the person is underneath under our group of known faces. Okay, so if that face is one of the known faces, the Face API will return a Face ID, which will be like just like an identifier, just like your login. You know, but it's actually a hash of your face or calculations of your face. Okay, so once we got that Face ID back, that Face ID will be used to identify the contact in Sitecore by doing two different things here. We're gonna do an identification in a browser to show in the middle of the screen the recommendations, and also we'll identify in a JSS client, calling JSS so I can have information about the result I'm seeing on screen. The reason I need that is because, remember, I need to light up the LED strips. I need the LED pin numbers that are shown on screen. So I do that by calling in a separate call, in a separate client, a JSS, and having some JSON back with the pin numbers, of course. The recommendation at the end is shown on the screen, and I will see the genre, the highlighted genres on screen. Okay, so that's kind of quite easy and quite very interesting as well. Next, I'm gonna show you the activity diagram for the face detection loop. Okay, the first thing we'll see here is this square is the local API. Okay, that's the face detection API. I'm using here Microsoft Windows API to detect an object. And in this case, it's local because I need quick response. So by using a local API, I don't need to call any external API through the web, and I can do that quite often. I can do like every 100 milliseconds or even less. So by doing that, I can draw a yellow square in the screen, you know, showing the user, giving a feedback to the user that his face is being detected. Okay, once we got that face stabilized on screen, we're gonna call a second loop here, which is the web API. So here, the first is not able to do a lot of things. It's just able to see that we have a face and be able to see that the face is stabilized, such a way that if I take a screen, a shot of the people's face, I'll not see a blurred image, but a good image that I can use. But later I will use that image. I will send that image to the web API, and I will get back if the person is known or not. If the person is not known, I will get back to the loop. If the person is known, I will go and offer the experience, which in this case consists in, you know, identifying the contact with Face ID, show the recommendations on screen, blink the corresponding LEDs, and finally wait a little bit and go back to the loop. Okay. All right. So let me show a little bit about the hardware that we have here. Of course, we use Sitecore, and Sitecore is the website here. It's separate from that physical object that I have in the middle of the screen, in the middle of the bookshelf. So what runs in bookshelf? We have Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi, for those who don't know, are is a credit card size PC. Very interesting one because it's cheap and quite powerful as well. We're running Windows IoT Core, which is a special version of Windows 10, a more lean version of that to be using this kind of devices. And we built a client application to do the loop that I just showed for you before. We use that a client built in UWP, Universal Windows Platform, by using .NET, but UWP instead of web. Okay, so that runs in the Raspberry Pi, and we have monitor and camera attached to the Raspberry Pi, and also cable network to connect to Sitecore. Okay, for those who knows Sitecore, Raspberry Pi, you may ask why we need cable network. The reason is because even though Raspberry Pi allows you to use Wi-Fi, Windows IoT Core does not support that yet. Okay, so I need cable network. That's unfortunately a limitation, but it's not blocking us to do this demo. So let's continue. We also have a relay module. Okay, and the relay module is there to block, to turn on and off the LED strips from respective genres. Okay, so I have multiple LED strips, each of them to different genres. Okay, and the reason we need the relay module is because Raspberry Pi only allows you to handle 5 volts, and we need to the LED strips, we need 12 volts. Okay, and you definitely cannot use Raspberry directly. I tried and I burned my first Raspberry Pi, so that's why you need this relay module in the middle. By having that relay, you can actually handle high voltages if you want, but you don't have to. In this case, it's only 12 volts, but you can, because that will work as a shield for Raspberry Pi. Okay, all right, guys. Here we'll have a small video showing about the demo that we're gonna show you here. The reason we have this video is because it's showing in a real bookshelf, in a real bookstore, how that works, and the demo here is much simpler. So I'll send you. Can I send you a link and you guys start up at your site?
Yes, that can be possible.
Okay. Hold on a second. I'll drop in the chat window. Let me know when it finishes, okay?
All right.
Is it done?
Almost. It is done now.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so the video was capable to demonstrate the whole physical experience. And here I will bring you a little bit of the always scaring demo. Okay, so let me bring you. Can you see my screen or the bookshelf?
Yes, we do.
Okay, amazing. So that's my portable library. I like that small nickname. And let me approach that to show you how that works. So as you can see, as I approach, there will have a yellow square around my face, showing that my face is being read. And the reason it's not doing anything yet is because it's not stable yet. So I don't want to have a blurred picture like I described before. So let me stop and stand still. As I do it, my face will be sent to the Cloud API. I will be detected as Rodrigo, and my favorite genres are shown. So I have anthology, horror, and poetry. Can you see that fine? Okay. And I'll be back to the beginning of the loop. And if of course, I have only 30 seconds here because this is a demo. But if I get back there, I'll be recognized again, and that's it. So, of course, my genres are still the same. And next, I will call my friend Roberto, the person you saw in the video, to do the same. I will invite him to go and approach the bookstore, the bookshelf, to see a different behavior for him. There you go. So he has different preferences, which is good. However, let me go and do something similar to what you saw in the video. I'll need to close this and reach out to the website. Oh, that's me. Yeah. Roberto, do you want to face face logging? So he's going to do face logging in the website. And thank you. As he is detected, we're gonna go to his account and we'll disable the use of his picture, and I will save. So now, let me log out, and I will ask Roberto, just a second, Roberto, I need to open magnifier again. Oops. There you go. Okay, do that again. So now Roberto will go and approach the bookstore, the bookshelf, and we'll see that he is not detected or his preferences are respected. This time the bookshelf is blind for him. Okay, cool. All right, that was the demo. Demo Gods was happy with us. Thank you very much, Roberto. And I'll get back to the presentation. Thanks, Demo Gods. Okay, so next, we're gonna speak a little bit about what I see as future, what else we can achieve with this technology or with the evolution of this technology. So here are some things. recommendation feedback. So you know, when I do recommendations, as you see in the demo or in the video, I don't do anything with what happens next. I just offer the recommendations, and I don't do anything else. So we can use face detection to do something else with that. So what I mean by that, I can scan people's face and see if he's paying attention to my recommendation, or if the person grabbed something. We can use not only face recognition, but we can use sensors to detect if the person, you know, grabbed the book from the genre that we are recommending, and use that as a feedback to retrofit the API and give better recommendations, even better recommendations. One interesting thing I see as we can do is heat maps. So we are all familiar with the concept of heat maps when it comes to your website. You know, you can see by using a heat maps, you can see what parts of your website are more popular than the other parts, and because you know that you can apply improvements. You can do that in your store if you use the same concept with multiple bookshelves like this spread around your store. You can definitely see which parts are more accessed than the other parts, and which parts are more popular and not. And by knowing these things, you can find code areas that can be improved by, you know, just moving things in your store, or, you know, getting a more popular category later in your store, more in the back. And next, other things we can do is improve interaction by giving more things with the things that face recognition provides. So, for instance, I can do different things if you are a woman or a man, or given your age, you can have a different kind of experience, and all that can be done. You know, all those facets can be extracted by using face recognition, and you can use those to personalize using just normal rules. For those places where regulations permit, you can use anonymous recommendations as well. You can use those facets that I mentioned before, and use those as to give recommendations for people that you don't know. And of course, use Cortex, and, you know, have that API being used to make some kind of usage of artificial intelligence in these recommendations. By the way, this presentation, you see an improved version of this presentation is going to be presented in the next symposium. And in that version, we are going to have more artificial intelligence. And instead of only simply the Sitecore rules that we are all used to, we're going to have a little bit more of artificial intelligence as well. So stay tuned for November in the next symposium. That would be awesome. All right. And stores, how about stores? I will try to be fast and don't want to take more of your time. In a normal store, not in a bookstore, of course, you can give like special treatments and greet your customer by name if he is detected, or celebrate his birthday with discounts, or even offer promotions, special discounts, and like draw prizes where people needs to show up in a physical store. So if you offer to your good audience something that demands that this person, in order to win, you have to step in a real physical store, that will force your or at least influence your client to step in a physical store, which is good for you. And personalized ads, using online behavior, as well as the mood of the gender, or all the gender in this case, all that facets, and also the previous engagements, how the person are acting, all that can be used in any kind of stores. All right, guys, so I will reserve this slide to thanks a lot of people. Okay, so I'll thank my wife and my son for loving me so much, and as much as I love them and Sitecore. Roberto, the person is helping me a lot, and he built the Raspberry application, and he's also in the video. Eliane from Udesc, which is also university, she allowed us to use the library for the video. And Mark Service, he was the narration and editor in this video. And Una was my mentor for this presentation when I presented in the last SUGCon in Europe, in London, which was an amazing experience. I like to say that this concept of face detection, face recognition, was also used in the last hackathon by my team, Go Horse team. And here is what happened in Europe. So we won the hackathon with that concept as well, which was great. And by the way, that was my second win with the Go Horse team. So always with this team, we're always glad for the conqueror. And that's all I got, my friends. I'm opening for questions. Feel free to contact me in any of these channels.
Thank you very much, Rodrigo, for this nice presentation. Is there any question in the room for Rodrigo? None. I have one.
Yes.
My question is about personalization using your bookstore. Was it hard to get all the preference of the user, the face and everything to work live as the user used the website? Did you have any challenges to put the information in the XDB contact, for example?
The preferences, all the time I was speaking like that was already there because that was very easy. So let me show you here. I basically have profile cards, attached to each of my pages, and when I visit the page, I will sum up one visit to that profile card. That's out of the box from Sitecore.
Yeah.
And it's still loading. So I just use that as, even if you go to experience profile, you see here, that's me, and I have ontology, 66%. So those are pattern matches. That's quite out of the box. The only thing I had to do was, a custom thing, was when I go to the genre, that was kind of for free, that's out of the box. But when I go to the book, I want to sum up one visit to the genre as well. So if I visit like 10 books from the same genre, I get 10 points from anthology in this case.
Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of tagging all the books one by one, you have a little script that associate the visit with the category, the genre.
Exactly, and that's basically just mimicking one visit to the genre, because the genre is the parent of the current book in this case. So I just go and trigger the same things that happens when you visit the genre. You got the profile card attached to you and all that. That's custom. And if you want, by the way, I haven't shared that with the community, so I can easily share that. It's something that can be easily shared.
Yeah, that's
so I'll promise for tomorrow.
Cool. Thank you very much. Very appreciated.
You're welcome.
right. Our next speaker is Ben Lipson from Perficient in Toronto. Ben, do you want your session to be broadcast? No? So we will end the broadcast here, and Ben will plug in directly to the AV system. There's plugs and everything. Thank you very much for all the remote attendees, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.